Hi, this is number five, I think, of the stories of Christmas Island Mary and I visited some years ago. First is a question. What is a scientific name for a person who studies crabs? I'll try to remember to let you know at the end. Have you ever dragged a piece of fluff around the jungle while seated in the back of a rusty ute? I have. The purpose of this bizarre exercise was to attract and catch a Christmas island, also known as the variable goshawk, band it and release it. That way, biologist Mark Holdsworth of National Parks Tasmania is able to assess the health of the goshawk population and have an understanding of its haunts and roosts. This is another of the island's endemic birds, which is thought to be under threat from the removal of habitat by phosphate mining. The trouble is, no one is quite sure. The numbers could be as low as 100 to 250 individuals. But again, no one is certain. Hence the fluffy toy which emulates the small rodent that the goshawk is attracted to. The toy was ever so realistic as it careened along at 10 to 15 kilometers an hour behind the ute. It looked especially authentic when we went round a corner and it leapt into the air. If you remember the Faulty Towers episode where Manuel kept a rat in his room and it escaped, then you will have some idea of what this creature looked like. It was a thoroughly entertaining morning, and on 4 separate occasions we spotted a goshawk sitting in a nearby tree, watching us with great amusement as we sailed past in the ute, dragging our toy. Some of the birds are already banded, and Mark was able to read the identification numbers with a pair of binoculars. Mark approached a young unbanded bird with a fishing rod-like apparatus in an attempt to snare the bird for banding. Alas, the bird had other ideas. Mark was one of our superb team of guides and has been nominated for the Australian of the Year. Good luck, Mark. Whenever I mention to anyone that Mary and I visited Christmas Island, the question of the refugee detention centre always comes up. We saw the centre and we spoke to the local population about it. Most residents see it as an economic boost for the island. Some complained that in the early days when the centre was established, the supermarkets ran out of food because of the rapid increase in population. Beyond that, we didn't discuss it very much. However, on the day of the great goshawk hunt, we paused for morning tea at an open paddock, which had been used for training the detention centre security officers in riot control. At the edge of the field was a pair of bright blue wheelie bins. Inside the bins were discarded gloves, shields, taser wires, and rubber bullets. It was a sobering moment to ponder that here, in this remote rainforest, the tools of modern violence sat alongside the beauty of this unique landscape. There are few beaches on Christmas, but those that are spectacularly pretty, except for Greater Beach. As you enter the forest track to Greater Beach, you are invited to take a large rubbish bag to the beach with you. The beach is completely filled with the most appalling array of rubbish imaginable. Old toys, bottles, plastic goods of every conceivable type. There are fishing nets and lines, floats, clothes, shoes, medicine bottles. It is truly disgusting, and obviously a serious threat to turtles, fish, and birds. We did our best to load as much of this detritus into our sacks, but it was hopeless. There's just too much. I'm told that the flotsam and jetsam comes from the currents from Indonesia, which is confirmed by the writing on some of the items. And let me just say, as an aside, that Indonesia is not the only culprit. We are just as bad. When I returned to Emu Park, I was saddened to see a cormorant hanging from one of the pine trees on Kemp Beach. It had become entangled in a fishing line, which had trailed behind it, eventually getting hooked up in the branches. There it died a slow death. On our way back from Greta Beach, some wag mentioned Greta's garbo. The robber crabs were prolific, and I was told a story explaining why they are so named, but I won't vouch for the truth of it. Apparently, the female robber says to the male, "Get out there into the jungle and fetch us some food, you lazy bugger." The man crab heads off in a grumpy mood in search of suitable sustenance for the family. But the crab has a propensity for picking up all sorts of interesting items. He's just as likely to return to home base with an old shoe, or a sparkly beer can as some serious tucker. When he gets home, she berates him. You can't eat that, you crazy crab, and off he goes again. These guys are all over the island, so if you're lucky enough to visit there one day, don't leave your shoes outside your motel room door. Sadly, when they're on walkabout, they sometimes get run over by cars. And there's a big sign there which says, "Watch out, please don't squish me into a Krabby Patty." And what is a studier of crabs known as? A carcinologist. Thanks.